So with Talk's international editor Isabel Oakeshott. Isabel, quietly, we are now going to talk about, well, we're not going to talk quietly, but quietly, this is probably Britain's biggest crisis. And I don't say that lightly because we've got a lot of crises going on right now. This is the welfare crisis. Now, today it is revealed that more than 3.1 million people are claiming the full universal credit benefit without any obligation to look for work. So they've been excused looking for work. That's 3 million people. That is 2 million more. That's up from 1.5 million people claiming the same in January 2022. Add to that the overview, the shocking overview. This is absolutely extraordinary, that in this country, admittedly of more and more people, what are we now, about 70 million, there are 9,285,000 working age adults between the age of 16 and 64 who are economically inactive. In other words, they're not working, they're not looking for work, God knows what they're doing. Now, add that to the vast amount of money we're paying out to all these people claiming universal credit who don't even have to look for work. You've got a bill that is unsustainable. Liz Kendall is under massive pressure to cut our welfare bill, but with these statistics, she's just swimming against the tide. She's drowning. This is a really serious problem.
I mean, it's a gargantuan problem, and it is one that has got so much worse since Ian Duncan Smith from the Conservatives devoted literally years of his life to trying to make this problem better. I mean, that was the evolution of universal credit, was an attempt to try to make work pay. Well, it demonstrably failed. And, you know, he was very, very committed and passionate about this, which perhaps indicates just how difficult it is, unless you're prepared to be even more radical, in fact, substantially more radical than he was ever prepared to contemplate. I think you've got to start again with many of the systems. You know, I've had long conversations about people who manage the assessments for certain parts of the disability benefit system, the so-called PIP payments, personal independence payments. And, you know, privately, there are people who actually handle these assessments who are deeply, deeply concerned that they are letting through lots of people who do not deserve or need the payments. And that just, I've said this 100 times before on your show, Kev, that all that does is reduces the amount of resources available for people who really do need the payments. And ironically, it is often those most in need, the people with really terrible conditions, you know, who struggle to do the most basic daily things to look after themselves, who face the hardest time qualifying for the benefits. How can that be? And indeed, many of the very elderly and frail who are too shy to come forward, but not least because they have a lot of pride that younger generations don't seem to have. A lot of very elderly people don't want to take anything from the state, and they really could do with the help. And yet you've got young people who are claiming in much the same way as people used to say they've got a bad back. It's very difficult to prove. Horrible thing if you really do have it. They're saying they've got mental health problems. Well, yeah, some of them do, and a very small number of them maybe do need the support of the state. The vast majority would probably benefit from actually the structure of doing a day's work. And even Liz Kendall herself, you know, portrayed some of those people as victims of a system that doesn't make them go out to get a job.
Yeah, and she, poor Liz Kendall, is actually the kind of target for a panic-stricken government. I know that Starmer and the gang are right on her back saying, you've got to save us billions and billions of pounds. We are paying out too much in welfare. Well, we are, but we've allowed the system to run out of control. 9,285,000 inactive people. That's a hell of a lot. 3 million. By the way, this 3.1 million pounds people who've been getting full universal credit, even though they don't have any requirement to look for work. 1.5 million of them be getting that for the past 5 years. So it's an ongoing situation. Now, I think that this Labour government is going to really go against the grain for them, but they've got to get real about this. We as a nation have got to get real about this. Now, as you quite rightly say, the welfare system, the benefit system is one of the glories of this country. We look after the underprivileged, the disabled, those who can't work, those afflicted with physical or mental problems. You know, we look after people. But what's happened is, and we know it, and Labour are going to face up to it, among these millions that we're talking about, there are millions of shirkers, lazy, work-shy so-and-sos who are getting off work for the rest of their lives, sometimes on the basis of a phone call. People are being written off. You know, 22-year-olds are being written off by social service assessors or benefit assessors on the phone. On the phone, they go, oh yes, yes, I do rule that you don't have to look for work for the rest of your life. You will get benefits. They haven't even met them. This has got to stop.
They actually hate the fact they haven't met them. You know, as I said, I've talked to a very good source on this who spoke most powerfully about how frustrating it is to be one of these assessors and have to do it all over the phone. The vast majority of these claims are assessed over the phone. And, you know, the assessors could tell within a few seconds of meeting someone face to face whether they're a deserving case or not. But it's much more difficult over the phone. I would say there's something very, very straightforward that any government could do. And I hope that a future government that isn't a Labour government would do just this. And that is immediately disqualify any recent immigrants to this country from claiming benefits. That's not radical, folks. That's what the vast majority of countries in the world do. Other countries don't let you swan over and live somewhere new and say, actually, hey, I've just rocked up. You know, would you mind just paying for my life, please? Doesn't work like that in most other countries. And it is not a ludicrously crazy, extreme position to suggest that you need to pay something in before you take something out. In Singapore, they have a very smart system whereby everybody basically creates their own pot from which they can draw. A bit like a pension scheme, but you can draw from it at any point in your life. But it's finite. You know, you can't just immediately start drawing down from the state before you've actually contributed in any way. So I think we need to introduce a system whereby newcomers have to qualify. There may be a minimum period, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, whatever it may be. Then we would, in a heartbeat, given how many people in this country, in the UK, have only just arrived in the UK and are draining from the system, we would instantly, absolutely slash the cost of the welfare state.
And it needs to be done. It needs to be done first. Just to reiterate, the 3.1 million Brits currently getting full universal credit without any requirement to work or look for work is up from 1.5 million in January 2022. So, you know, towards the end of the lockdown. So that is 3 years, less than 3 years, really. It has doubled. So it is.
You call them Brits, but I'm not sure they are Brits. They're people living in Britain who have just decided that this is going to be their home. And again, this goes to whether we're too quick to give people citizenship. So I think this whole thing is an absolute disaster.
It really is. It really is.
By the way, it's so abused, this system, that there are people who arrive in this country and within weeks of being here are literally sending benefits back to their home countries. Yeah. And if that doesn't tell you there is something completely rotten at the heart of the system, then I don't know what will.
Yeah, and as soon as you pitch up on the beach and we put you in a 4-star hotel and give you free food, free doctors, free dentists, free lawyers, we also give you 45 quid a week instantly. I mean, it's bizarre. It's crazy. It's mad. But trust me, Isabel, it spells massive trouble for this country, and the government know it. Isabel, fantastic to talk to you. We will talk again tomorrow. Look forward to that. Isabel Oakeshott there, Talks International editor.